Alright, hey folks, I'm a little late to the game today, but got into a Spelljammer debate online, so that ended up derailing me by about 20 minutes, talking about air supply and stuff in space. So if you're interested in physics like that, I have a book down below called Spelljammer Combat and Exploration that is a really good dive into space physics using the 5e game engine that is much more, it's more simpler. It simplifies like all the ideas from second edition that were so complicated and kind of boils them down to easy bite-sized ideas using the 5e game engine. So 5e from WotC, they didn't have enough page space to cover all the weirdness of ships leaving the atmosphere of a planet and stuff like that. It's just like little nuanced, little physics question things that WotC lets rulings resolve, but without good rules, it's, as we say, it's difficult to have good rulings. You have to have enough meat on the bone to have a char. So that's what I did. I put a little more meat on the bones in the flavor and spirit of 5e so that you can actually have a system that can be self-referential and consistent in gameplay. Whatever decision that you make, it creates a structure that allows you to be consistent by covering all of those bases for you. That you can choose to ignore or use as you please, but you have something to at least, once you have a rule, you can decide if that rule makes sense for your game or not. But without rules, you're leaving it to the DM to try to figure out how is this game supposed to work. And honestly, that's a big ask for most people that are casual players. It's deep state dorks like me that get into the weeds of those physics. But that's what we do here. We dive into the weeds of physics so you don't have to, so you have a game system you can reliably use. And I just think 5e is just the absolute best system to do that with. So, but I digress. I'm supposed to be doing Eberron art right now, and look at me. I'm all... You got me monologuing. So let me check my volume here. You got me monologuing. Yep, that came through loud and clear, young Kearney. Good job, buddy. Let's drop that down so it stays out of the way, and we'll get started here. So normally I do like a quick little bloody blah intro, and we get to work. So I'm just gonna keep it brief. I'm gonna tap some social media buttons. I'm almost done already. But hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online, and I'm creating an adventure for the Eberron campaign setting called, as you can see here, Crystals of Mabar. It's for 7th and 8th level characters fighting necromancers, undead, and demons in the Carnwood of Carnath on the continent of Corvair. I've been a DM since 1987. I've been an Eberron enthusiast since 2004. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999, and I've been creating content on the DMsGuild since 2018. But I haven't done anything for Eberron specifically yet, so this Crystals of Mabar, this is kind of a love letter to the campaign setting. Just a final note here before I get to work. If you think today is cool, I'm here 9 times per week, 5 times a week in the morning, and then in the evenings on Mondays and Fridays, lunchtime at Tuesdays and Fridays, including today, where we'll do game design. So if you think stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the... Holy Hannah, a new subscriber. Thanks a lot, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notification when we're live in the future. Here's a slew of books that we've created, including the Spelljammer book that I just was yammering about, and all the other stuff, well, a bunch of other stuff that I've done. Check that all out. It all has free previews. If you think it's cool or adds value to the games that you play, then consider making a purchase to encourage similar behavior. And with that, let's push this book cover out of the way. More innovations in the world of Phil. We're using the 16:9 format. For those that are familiar with the channel, you already know this is how we're doing it. But if you're new here, hi, welcome to the mix. This is a 16:9 format on your device. It should be filling your screen this way if you have full screen on YouTube. And each column is also 16:9. It won't do it right now because of the formatting. But if you had a PDF open and you flipped it up like this, you could have just one column at a time as you go through your book. Click, 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 flip, click, click, flip. You could flip that way, or you can just look at one page at a time. I use a 15-inch tablet, and it's a 12-point font body text, so it's huge area, easy to read. This is a 5.5-inch wide column, and I think this here specifically is 3 inches tall. So this is a 5.5 by 3-inch space that we're painting inside of right now. And as promised, I got a little bit of work done on this last night. I still have to finish the tents, but I'm going to probably finish those over the weekend and not bore you with me flapping at flaps. So instead, I'm going to focus on the foreground so we can get everything but the tents done. So, and that just lets me play with foliage and stuff for a little bit, which I absolutely love to do. So let's grab some foliage brushes and start doing some foreground foliage stuff. We'll start off with a dark black, and then we'll just layer in some we'll layer in some appropriate colors over it. But I need to break up all of this area here so that it's you know, more of an environment. So I'm just gonna scratch at it like this. Hold on real quick. Let's push that up there like that, and here. How do you do? Oh, well, I mean, that explains a lot. Thanks. I'm in the wrong layer. Let's grab this and here, and there it is. Dun, 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 dun. Down here. Bring this to the front here. There we go. All right, back on track. I got lost in the layers, as it were. I'm just gonna block this in here right now, just to see what kind of a shape do we want in here to help frame this here. So we have all this high shrubbery in the background, and to not have any in the foreground would be dumb. But I also don't want to hide everyone, so I'm going with what's important here in the foreground. This guy's butt's not very important, so I can cover that up with a little bit of foliage. I'm just using this is just a generic foliage leaf brush that I use, and you can see I can like rotate it around like that to make neat little things, neat little shapes and forms. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just kind of pecking in some structure that I'll be able to use a different brush for like flowers and like tips and stuff. So right now we just feed this in here like this initially. Bring that down a bit. Beep, beep, be-doo. Smooth jazz, K-Y-O-T, the coyote. There was a jazz station in Phoenix, KYOT, the coyote. I didn't really appreciate smooth jazz and office lounge music at the time in my early 20s, but as I've grown longer in the tooth, I can appreciate the slow vibe of smooth jazz a lot more. But KYOT, man, that thing was legendary. Everyone knew the coyote. So awesome. So great. Back when life wasn't so fucking serious all the time. But do 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 do. good. Put a little bit of a tip in here. I don't want to go crazy, but this unnatural dip here is suspicious, don't you think? A little sus to have such a convenient little dip in foliage to look through at the scenery. It is proper framing though, I'll give you that. Let's drop this down just a little bit more just to get away from them a bit. Not completely though. That's not so bad. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty good. So that's a very, very basic layer. Let's go in here and grab something that's a little more, yeah. That'll do, pig. Something like that should do okay. We're gonna use a new type of brush. I don't want a burst brush. Hold on. Yeah, we can probably just go with foliage things. I owe my Discord, or not my Discord, my Patreon. I owe my Patreon these brush, the ASP file with these brushes in them. I haven't forgotten about that promise. I just haven't gotten to it. That's gonna work. Let's do that. So what I can do is I can put the spin brush in here. I can go over to here. I should be able to. Let's see if I'm clever or not. But I can. This has a randomizer on it, so that every time I tap, it reorients its direction. So it remains, and I can still rotate it like this. And then I can rotate it, and then it just naturally has its own little cadence that it rolls through. So I can put this in here as a highlight facing the fire, and although the dots of this aren't aligning with the background, the underlying shadow brush, that doesn't really honestly matter very much. Here, I can patch in a little bit more here, and I'll show you what I mean. So I can take this here and I can free transform. Oh, wait, I can select inverse and I can hit the delete button, and you can see now that all those little dots are aligning with the underlying shadow work now. So I don't have to be specific about painting each individual piece. I can just make sure that none of the dots are free floating around the shrubbery, you know? If that makes any sense. And I come through and just shave it down a little bit to clean it up. And now that I have these all defined, I can come through and I can tap and erase some of these using the same brushes I used to lay down the underbrush. And I'm at, see, easy erase. But then I can take my eraser, blow it up in size, and drop the opacity down to 30%. And I can tap here to get a curved highlight sort of space going on here. So this underlying stuff isn't gaining as much light as the things that are along the edge facing towards the fire. It's fun little simple tricks. Like that. That's pretty good. It's so easy. These are all techniques I learned from Bob Ross. I've done 120 different Bob Ross paintings digitally like this, and that's where I got my shapes for my brushes from. The technique of like the random scatter effect that we were just using. All the bits and tricks that I use for creating environments I learned specifically from Joy of Painting. It's impossible for me to be certified as a Bob Ross instructor because I can't mix paints physically because I can't see color. So I have to operate. If I'm going to work in color, I have to operate inside of a digital tool like this. But otherwise, because of the advancements of stylus and Photoshop technology, you can literally do Bob Ross paintings the way that Bob does them in Photoshop from scratch using specialized brushes. I have another channel that is demonetized that has like 100 of those episodes. Maybe I'll find a way to import some of them. But this was part of me getting defunded on Twitch. Part of that was that I would play Bob Ross episodes and I would literally paint along with the episodes of Bob Ross on YouTube. So I'd play YouTube videos on Twitch while I'm painting to duplicate what he's doing, grabbing screenshots so I could look at the brushes, like the brush patterns that were being created and the colors that he was using. I would extract them using a color picking tool. And so, yeah. The end, I guess. Question mark? Let's go back to the other brush. Let's stick with our pattern here and see if I can just pull this off a little bit. I want to have a layered effect, so it's less, so it's not so one-dimensional. But I also have to be careful about like this large space here wouldn't logically be able to curve into where the campfire is at. So I have to be a little delicate with where I'm placing stuff, but there, that should be fine. Let's destroy all that and replace it. I didn't like the cut of that jib. So let's flip that around. That should do. Just a little delicate, just a little bit of tapping. Cool, and now I can come through with the eraser with 30% opacity again. And if I bring this down just a touch, I can get a little bit of gap there. So the dots are basically the texture of the shrubbery, but the shape that I'm using to erase is the underlying foliage brush. So that as I erase at this by tapping, it has a subtle acknowledgement of the same shape, like the shadows become the same shape as the actual underlying brush. So you have a consistency in expression of the plant, you know? So you want to pick one or two different type of foliage brushes in general to maintain consistency. Thank you, Tommy Timer. I'm going to drop the layer mask for now and just kick it to the edges. Let's go here. Yeah, just block that all in. It's all gonna get masked. It all gets masked out anyway along the edge here, so that's not really important. There. So I can drop this down and create a layer. I want to have this low patch kind of blend in with each other, but back here I can create these striations. Select inverse, delete, there we go. There. Nice little pop. Doesn't have to be overcomplicated, just has to look good. Select inverse, delete, clean up, and then erode. I'm going to call this front foliage. Drop that a tick. And then we add in our transparency again. Got a decent little layer going on here. Not horrible. I might have to redo this blending, this framing fog. I'm not sure if this fog is going to make sense for the actual framing, because what we could do is we might end up dropping like the bottom part here and have this just like run off into the border, because we don't know exactly what the border is going to look like yet. So we're building all the pieces independently. And then once we figure out the border work, we'll see how we could, like these little corner pieces like this, we can see how these corner pieces blend into that. If there's a synergy that we can build a bleeding in or not. It's pretty rampant. Here, I'll show you an example. The Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book that we built is full of it. So let's click over to here to the full preview. And yeah, see? Here's the, like, these are buttons that you can click to jump to different chapters. And then once we start getting artsy, breaking frame, there we go. Like here, this is just bleeding. Like this is just empty space. I didn't put an illustration in there because I didn't have a good one to put in there. I just wanted to have some sort of visual resting spot. So I'm just having the page peel into the background that we have going on here. Less so with the map. So like down here, you can see like it's peeling across. So these little radial buttons here just blend into the larger space, page space. Here's another example of pouring out into wild space here. This blends in here. So these blending effects are a lot of fun to do. It's just a matter of like, where is it appropriate? Like the Spelljammer book, since it's such an emphasis on space travel and wild space and the astral, I can get away with having like this bleed in effect, because that's the flavor that I have for wild space bleeding into the astral sea. It's like that. So these fun little, this fun little degrading the page space from the backdrop, the space backdrop that's framing it. Another little incursion here. Just little breaking points to help make the eye rest a little bit. It's fun. This one in particular was good to do that with, but I'm not sure how we would get away with similar. So yeah, we have this sidebar box here, and then you can just see spaces just like flowing behind the sidebar. It's just fun. This is a lot of freaking fun to do. A lot of fun to build this. But I'm not sure exactly how the Spelljammer trim is going to work yet. I don't need to know yet. That's not where we're at in the project. But this is what I'm capable of doing. And I would certainly love this one. I love this one. This is a great piece. I would like to have this kind of treatment in the Eberron book. I just don't know what the Eberron book is going to need. It might not be that kind of. It might not be this kind of a book. So the original intention was to build these hazy frames around, so that it's kind of fogs. There's so much fog, mist, rain, and atmospheric conditions in this adventure that this foggy frame seemed to be the right way to do it. But it could be more billowy than this, right? It could be. Let's disable this layer mask, and let's wrap all this inside of a new one. There. Or what I could do instead. Something like this. Like to really emphasize that billowy smoke idea I was just talking about. You can lean in like this. Man, my phone's being noisy today. Knock it off, dude. So, yeah, I stream Monday through Friday in the morning like this, doing artwork. On Monday and Thursday night, like last night, I work on game design. We're developing the color mana system for 2024 D&D mechanics. That's already published for 2014. Link down below. Check it out. The color mana system from Magic the Gathering works amazingly well in D&D. There's a couple of it's a different. It takes some calibrating because it's a different type of magic system. If you're not familiar with MTG already, it takes a little while to get the gist of it. But once you're on board with color magic, it's so much more intuitive than the 8 schools of magic and the spell slot system. It's just a better magic system, and I will forever chide and disparage WotC for not leaning into that idea. But to our benefit, I get to make the books, so cheers. But yeah, here's like an idea, like an approach that I could do differently to have like this billowy effect going on. So then whenever we're having pictures that are in in here, I can do the same sort of foggy smoke effect, and it's self-referential inside of the document because there's all sorts of fog and obscuring mist hazards and complications throughout the adventure. So this is actually not a bad idea to play in this space. I don't necessarily like this solution, but it's probably better than this one. So we can play with that stuff. But hey, that doesn't take much to do foliage. I'm gonna disable that layer again. Like there's your foliage. This piece is close to done. I still have to do the tents, so we'll start working on the tents. I'm going to finish those over the weekend. Let's push this out. And on Monday we'll start on a new picture, or continue. We'll work on a different picture. Let's just say it that way. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to work on. But I have the whole weekend for me to. That's not true. I don't do work on Sunday. I have all of tomorrow to figure out what stuff we want to be playing with on Monday. Boogie. There we go. Let's see what's going on with our tents. Yeah, let's take those down. We can actually you know what, honestly, hold on. Let's take this to full. Let's grab these and let's take these down. The Pound Town. How do I want to do this? Like that. Good. 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 Bound, 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 down, down. So this furthest back is at 37%. This one should probably be more like 47. Well, if this one, actually, if this one goes to 47. Yeah, that feels about right. This one can drop down to 20 something to be in the background out of the light. This one's at 26. This one's not 42. And this frontest most can be at, actually, let's leave it at 42 as well, but add in highlights over it. So let's get after that. Let's get ourselves back to a round rush. Well, hey, what's up? How you doing, Fernando? Fernando, are you in Spain? Where are you at? I feel like you're in Europe. I'm asking because of the European power outages, and I think you're in a significantly different time zone from I am. Or are you in Canada? I can't remember, dude. Sorry. What's that? Doesn't feel bad. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. We'll grab this. I can remove the foliage momentarily. Uruguay. Thank you. All right, never mind then. Never mind. I know I have some EUs that that hang out. I just can't remember who offhand. Do you even know that Uruguay exists? It's not on my it's not on my normal geopolitical radar of like hotbed of activity. So I mean, I know it exists. It's south. It's south somewhere. I want to say somewhere near Panama, but I'm American, so my geography is admittedly shaky. Have you heard about Uruguay? Handing out pamphlets. I gotta say, Uruguay's a cool name. It's fun to say. Uruguay. But that's probably just me because I like gruel. Uruguay and gruel kind of... They don't rhyme, you know, but like they feel like they could come from the same conversation. I'm painting over the tent because of the lighting that you need for the fire pulling away from the tent. So it's going to be more steeped in shadow the further away it gets. I want to have a little bit of a light highlight that fades out to give it some dimensionality. By having this curve here, it helps imply the fabric is curving down into the frame. I don't need to do a lot of detail on the tent itself, but just enough to be able to read properly, right? When I add the foliage back in. Thank you, Timely Timer. What time is it? I know I have a short day. I only got 20 minutes left today. When I do that and I add this in, see, it almost goes off screen, so it doesn't really matter anymore so far off. But I don't know what the frame is going to actually end up like, so I need to overextend it. So we disable the frame and we push out the darkness there, and even though the shrubbery comes in and conceals most of it, it has its own identity in the piece. What I need to do from here then is add in a flap. Which will do like that. Where Homer misread the name. You're a guy. I love The Simpsons. Holy shit, that's so funny. My favorite Simpsons episode is when he works for Hank Scorpio, the supervillain, and he ends up being like the best goon that Hank Scorpio had ever had. So he keeps giving him promotions. This job is the best. So funny. It's completely unrelated to your guys. Just Simpsons does funny fucking shit, man. That show, I gotta say, back in the I want to say like season 3 through 13 was just absolutely just crushed. Some of the funniest shit in the world. I don't even know if they're still making episodes or not. If they're still making episodes, please stop. But easily for a decade, that show just dominated. So funny. Just insane. Let's grab some of this, and we're going to do a paint over here for the flap. If I am lucky, this weekend I'll be able to break up all of the maps into their separate room components and drop them into the individual pages inside the PDF for me to be able to properly arrange with the text. That is my like. That would be great because I can kick through place because we'll be doing. Since all the map assets are done, it's just basically placement and framing. And that can go pretty quick. So if I can get if I could get like 12, 15 pages of map prep resolved this weekend, then next week when we come on stream, Monday through Friday, I can go through and do the framing for each of those pages and just knock those down really quick. Yeah, some of these pages go by really fast. It just depends on what's on the page. Right now, we're specifically focusing on more in-depth illustrations that are occupying space that I don't have any specific asset for already. So that's where a lot of this is coming from right now, like why I'm doing this particular piece. Because I didn't have something that should exist in this corner. So, hey, cool, let's make a little illustration that aligns with whatever is going on the page right now. That is how we do. Push the opacity a little bit here. I didn't intend to do that. I thought I was on a separate layer. Well, fiddle stacks. Whatever. The muse knows what to do. I just follow her lead. What's up? Yeah, no kidding, right? What do I use to paint? I use Photoshop 21 as my app, and I use a Intuos 2. Intuos 2, I think 1099C is it's just a small little board. I use the art pen that has the Z-axis brush. If you get a Cintiq, you automatically get a pen that has 2 nodes here. There's a node up at the top, and then there's 2 nodes down here. Nodes are like radio transponders. So the board emits a radio signal. It bounces off the transponders that are in the pen, and then it reflects back onto the board. So the board knows where the pen is relative to its position. And then the artboard tracks pixel to pixel to the screen that we're using. So when I'm in the lower left-hand corner of my artboard, I'm in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. So that's just basic. That's just basic tablet technology, right? So the 2 transponders in the tip allow you to tell where you're at in space 3-dimensionally with rotating it. So I can have unique shapes and rotate the shapes around. I use a Acer. It's a 32-inch Acer professional monitor. So it's the same type of monitors that they use at newspapers to do page design. And I just have a simple little keyboard, and then I use a wireless Microsoft brand mouse. Very simple tools. And I use it's a Windows operating system. Windows 10. I'm using, I have an i9 chip with an 8600 graphics card from Asus. And I'm rocking 32 gig of RAM. It's a decent setup. The monitor was $1,500. The computer at the time, like 4 years ago, the computer was $2,500. The Wacom tablet's $200. The mouse is $35. The pen alone is $100. So my Wacom setup was $300, and then $20 a month for Photoshop. You guys are on a fucking subscription model. I miss the days of Windows. Hold on. Yeah, there's a little speck there that I missed. That was pissing me off. Yeah, I used to use like Photoshop. I want to say Photoshop 8 or 9. Whatever that was, like back in 2002, it was a cracked copy. I was initially using Corel Paint, but I didn't like the color tools weren't very good. Photoshop has just the best color tools. I used GIMP for a while when I stopped using pirated copies of Photoshop. But I didn't like the performance that GIMP could provide. Photoshop really is just the strongest machine. Maybe Clip Art Studio is competitive against it. I don't know. I don't like For some reason, just the way the user interface on Clip Studio just doesn't feel right to me. There's just something off about it to me. Yeah, let's do that. That forward. I see text. Give me a second. Let me get my orientation here, and then I'll catch up with you. I'll merge that down. There. So? Fair enough. Fair enough. I would say the couple $100. I only make a couple $100 a month off of DMsGuild for the books I've created, which is like in the top 10%. I'm like a top 10% producer on DMsGuild. It's I mean, you could, if you crack out a bunch of stuff, you can legitimately make a living off of making 5e content on DMsGuild. Still, it gets more and more difficult all the time because of, you know, increased competition, yada yada. But if you have enough titles, you can actually have I know a number of people that have full-time work doing DMsGuild stuff. I guess that's all they. Well, they're starting to branch out into Shadow Dark and stuff like that, but for the longest time they were only doing 5e content on DMsGuild. But I have a day job, so I don't have to worry about the decisions that I like the art I choose to do or the books I choose to make aren't driven by, do I need to make money off of this or not? That's really important for me in particular. To not have to be reliant on whether this adventure is successful or not, and you know, am I going to be able to eat food? That just doesn't. If I ever get to a place where artwork and making games is supposed to be my full-time job, I will find myself that's where I'll find myself. It'll just end up happening. There'll be absolutely nothing I can do to control it one way or the other, and I don't really want to. That's not important to me. What's important to me is that I get to make what I want to make, when I want to make it, the way I want to make it, and how much time it takes for me to make it. All these things are things that I can control. So it's nice to have a stable income that gives me the flexibility to do this type of stuff. Speaking of which, I'm down to 5 minutes. 7:45. We're getting close to time. Let me finish. I don't like that draping. I like that better. To be able to appreciate your circumstances, you have to really be able to know how to frame it, you know? Like I could be angry and disappointed that I have to have a day job and that my art isn't my income, right? It's not my job to do art. Like, I could be disappointed about that. But then there's all the decisions and all the administration and all the hustle and the advertising and all the stuff that goes on behind that. That's work on top of work on top of work as a sole proprietor of a small business. This, as just a hobby, a casual hobbyist with a stable job backing me up, allows me to stay in the art of it, you know? And if I am to ever evolve into something more than just a high-end hobbyist, then that is where I will find myself. There's literally nothing I'll be able to do to avoid my fate, good or bad. So I have to accept that wherever I'm at right now is my fate, and that the more I can appreciate where I am at right now, the more capacity I'll have to appreciate where I'll end up at in the future. Right now, I'm training my skill of gratitude and being able to recognize the things that are blessed in my life that make my life easy, that allow me to do what I need to do without being angry or sour about the different circumstances or twists of fate that I have. But for me to produce my best work, I can't be afraid. You can be innovative if you're afraid, but you can't be creative, you know? A video game, but at the same time, I have to work as an accountant. Yeah, I do marketing analysis stuff at an advertising agency. I can totally relate, man. Yeah, I think it's fun having an analytical job, and then to be able to just completely eject that analytical space and get into the creative space instead. It's like such a different vibe. I absolutely love it. I did freelance art for a living for like maybe 9 months in my 20s, and I hated it. Like having to scrounge for commissions, taking gigs that I just did not vibe with at all. Trying to keep clients happy. I would use like Fiverr didn't exist at the time, but it was a service similar to Fiverr where you'd pick up gigs, like low cost gigs, and the amount of bitching and micromanagement from these people paying like $25 for an illustration that was supposed to be like a 2-hour project. Let's go. You know, ends up being like a 7-hour affair, and they're still not happy. I'm like, come on, man. I was trying to hustle. It was such a pain in the ass. I didn't know how to control client expectations very well back then. That was a great crash course. But it was like I had to go get a day job. I'm like, this is just, I hate this. I hate everything about it. I can't stand it. I don't want to paint. I thought it'd be fun to the idea is that I can just paint all day. I love to paint. I love painting. Paint. And when you get a client, it's like you do more, you do less painting than if you had a full-time job and that you could just take a break and paint. You know? It's like the infrastructure wasn't there. I had to build it all. And it's like, this sucks. I was not ready. And it definitely made me gun shy about wanting to make this a business. So I do everything I can to not make it a business. Like, if this ends up being a profitable business, it's going to drag me to success kicking and screaming. I will have, it would be a business despite my efforts. And that's, I think, is a really good place for me to be in. Because again, I want it to feel like a hobby. I want this to be something that I do to relax, not stress over. And that is critical. It's the only way I can endure through these long projects that take months or even years to complete. The only way I can do that is to find the joy and the love of what I'm doing on the day by day. And if I get ground down by am I making enough money right now, it is impossible to survive. I would fail. Only have just a few moments left today. So I'm just gonna cap off this curve here, and then we'll call it quits for the day. I'm gonna be back. I'll be back today at 2 o'clock. It's the 2 o'clock Seattle time. That's 6 hours from now. I'll be back on. We finished the wizard and the druid base class scaffolding for the 5e24 color mana conversion. And we took care of the druid subclasses that are actually in the 2024 Player's Handbook. But there's 3 other druid circles that were not included in the 2024 Player's Handbook that need to be converted. They don't need to be converted, but I want to convert them to the 5e24 system as well as to the color mana system. So that's what we're going to do today. Like circle of spores, dreams, spores, and wildfire. There you go. Those are the 3 circles we have yet to convert. And so we're going to see if we can get those done today at lunch. And then Monday night when we're back on stream, we're going to hopefully, if we aren't done with druid, we'll finish up druid. And then we'll get into cleric. Do the scaffolding for the cleric. Make sure the initial 4 subclasses in the 2024 book are reading proper, and then we'll go through the rest of the other 8 or 9, however fucking many subclasses there are for cleric now. All the domains. There's tons of domains for clerics. But there we go. Let's fold that up real quick. There we go. Now this one's really in the background, so I don't have to worry about as much, but I can just do some little hinting here of lighting. And this one's more visible, kind of like this one is, but it has more surface available. So it's just like maybe an hour or so to resolve those, and I'll fix the lighting on this a little bit. But this is fun to do. So like the foliage concealing most of it doesn't really matter, but we know it's there. If we have to adjust the front foliage, the underlying structure is there to support it. But that's it for now. I gotta bounce. So we'll start on, when we come back Monday morning, we're going to work on something completely different. I have no idea what it's going to be. We'll figure it out when we get there. And I'll be back in 6 hours to do the color mana spell point variant rules for the druid. And then Monday night we'll do cleric, like I was just saying. So anyone that's new to the channel, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. Check out my Discord channel down below, my Patreon. A bunch of books, they all have free previews for you guys to check out if they add value to your life. I can start picking them up to support a similar behavior in the future. And Fernando, man, thanks a lot for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you. I'll see you guys later. Cheers.